What's up guys, Deadbird here, and we are going to be starting a new mini-series. This is going to be building on our dialogue system. So right now we have this dialogue system that it looks okay, but it could use a lot of work. Aesthetically, it's not very pleasing, and we're basically going to be working on making it look better, but also adding some more functionality to it. So we're going to be copying the style of a game called Indivisible, and so we're going to have like a character pop up, and we're going to have bigger portraits, and we're going to have another character like come in and then darken the other character that's not talking, and also have name tags underneath the character to show who's talking. And we'll be adding more characters, so we'll be having up to 4 characters, but realistically you can have as many as you want. For this tutorial, that's just going to be the way I'm going to do it. So this tutorial assumes that you've watched my other videos. If you go to my channel, go to playlists, I have a dialogue playlist, and you don't have to watch all of them, just from 1 to 8. The options part is going to be, we're not going to be really using the options, we just need the functionality of the actual dialogue system to get you started. Alright, so we're trying to make this dialogue system look a lot better, and right off the bat there's a lot of things that aren't very appealing. So first of all, this text, it resizes, we don't really want that, and the text box doesn't look that great. So let's try to fix these things up. First, let's do start with the text. So the reason why it's resizing is because we have best fit on. So we're going to turn best fit off. And what that will do, it will stop resizing to fit the text box. And let's just see how it looks now. And so it's not going to resize itself anymore. This is a pretty simple fix. And the other thing is that our UI looks pretty bad right now. So let's turn on our dialog box so that we can see all the elements. And let's make the text box. So this is the text box here. And I have these new UI pieces that I found online. So you need to find your own. And I'm just gonna fit these to size real quick. Alright, so I adjusted my text box size, and now the next thing I'm gonna do is let's change the background. I'm not liking this complete black background, so I'm going to create a new image, and I'm going to drag in my anime background that I found online. You can see that's pretty small. So I'm just going to hit this icon here, and I'm going to hold on to Alt, and on this bottom right one, it's going to stretch the image out to fit the screen. And I'm going to drag it up to the top here so that it's so that my dialog box is in front of the background. I can just change this to be called background image, something like that. And so now we have this nice, or much nicer looking scene here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little background for the dialogue name. So I'm going to create a new image in the dialog box. And I'm going to drag in my name holder here, and I'm going to set it to the native size so that, well, that's pretty big, but I set it to native size so that we can keep the aspect ratio. And I'm probably going to scale this down. I'm going to rename it to name holder. This is pretty big still. Yeah, I'll just do that. That looks okay. I'm going to try to drop the opacity just a bit so it matches the other box. and I'm going to drag in the dialog name into the name holder. And then I'm just going to center this on the box here. And I'm going to center that, center it again, move it up a bit. And this is going to be the name of the character. Name of character here. And so now we have a much nicer looking scene. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my dialog portrait. So this is going to be the portrait of the character. I should call it character portrait instead. And I'm going to find one of my characters, drop that in here. And we can see that it doesn't look very nice at all. I'm going to do the same thing and set it to native size. And once again, it's too big. Alright, so my character is in front of the dialog box and I don't want that. What I could do is I could move it out of the dialog box, but I kind of want everything to be within this parent. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to move this, bring this character back, and I'm going to take this image of our dialog box and I'm going to create a new image. And I'm basically going to take this dialog box and move it over to this new image. So this can be the new dialog box, let's say background. Let's say BG for short, it's getting too long. And so I'm just going to transfer this over onto here. I'm going to paste component values, and so we have this new dialog box. And I'm just going to get rid of this. So this dialog box is just going to be the holder of all of the information of the dialog. So this is not have any information on it. It's just going to hold stuff. And now I'm going to take my dialog box and I'm going to fit it again. So let me just do this real quick. Move it up, scale it down, and that's pretty good. So now our character is in front of all this, all of our dialogue. We don't want that. And so we're just going to drag her all the way up to the top, and she's going to be behind everything. So everything below character portrait is going to be rendered in front of our character. And so now let's fit this a little bit better, because she's kind of like, her bottom area is just, it's cut off in the middle of nowhere. We want it to cut off at the bottom of the screen, so I'm going to scale this up. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to keep this the way it is, and let's move on to the next part. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my character portrait, and I'm actually going to create an empty object first, and I'm just going to call this character portraits folder, because I'm going to be duplicating these character portraits. Move it to the top again, and I'm going to duplicate these because we want to have more than one character in our scene. And so we have all these characters, and you want to space them out however you want. In this case, I'm going to have 2 characters be on the left and 2 characters be on the right. Alright, so we have all of this, and now we can turn it all off and start with the programming process. Let's go to our scripts and open our dialog manager. And so now that we have our dialog manager open, the first thing we need to do is we need a reference to all of these character portraits that we just created. And so let's get reference to all these character portraits. So we're going to basically find a spot to create a public, and these character portraits are images. So we're going to say image, and then we're going to call these character portraits. And so we'll probably be getting rid of like a lot of this stuff, or just at least this stuff, or at least this variable here, dialog portraits. But let's implement our character portraits first before we get rid of this. So let's go to our managers, and wait for this compile first. And we'll see here that in our dialog manager, we now have a new variable called character portraits, and we're basically going to hit the lock button in the top right of our inspector to lock this screen, or lock the inspector. So when we click around, the inspector is going to stay there. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on the first one, hit shift, and hit the last one so we can select all of these character portraits. And we're going to simply drag it into our character portraits, and it'll load it all up. So it's a neat little shortcut you can do. And then make sure you unlock it so you can have access to the inspector panel again. And so we have access to all of our character portraits, and now we just need to implement it. Alright, so let's go over to our dialog base here. And we're basically going to create a public character profile and make it an array and call this characters, and we're gonna make it equal to a new character profile, and we'll make it equal to 4. And so what this does is, I'll show you. We're going to go over to our dialogues, and we're going to look in one of these, doesn't matter. And so at the top here, we have characters, and if I expand it, it'll automatically create 4 of them. And so you don't have to do this. You can like make the size 4 every time, but this is just for convenience purposes, that it will automatically make the size 4 for us because we have 4 characters. And only 4 characters, or up to 4 characters I should say, but you can expand it if you want. And how this is going to work is we're going to be setting all the characters here. So let's say I want a scene with 4 characters, I can set all of these up. Well, this is how it's going to work. So this is an example here. And what would happen, or what I want to happen, is that it would take this information and then set the sprite for each one and set it to the character portraits for the respective sprites. So right now it doesn't do that, but let's see if we can do that. Before we do that, this is kind of hard to see. So we're going to give it the same treatment as our header here. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and instead of insert dialog information below, we'll say insert characters here, just so that it has a little header, so that your designer or whatever, maybe you're the designer, maybe you have other designers, they can see it easier and actually understand what this is for. And with that, let's move on to implementing this. Okay, so let's go over to our dialog manager again. So here we are in our dialog manager, and we're going to create a new method. Because this is going to be a little bit a lengthier piece of code, we're going to put it in its own method, and this is just good practice to do anyways. But I haven't been doing that for everything, since this is just a rough example. You probably want to clean it up more on your own time. So I'm going to create a private variable, since we're going to be using this in this script, And we're going to be calling this void, and then let's say set character portraits. So right now we're focused on setting the character portraits because that's pretty much the main thing going on right now. And we need to first loop through the entire character portraits. So we're gonna hit 4, and then I'm going to hit tab 2 times to set up a simple for loop. And then instead of length here, we're gonna put character portraits, and we're gonna get the length of that. And so because the length of this is 4, see, we have 4 character portraits, but if you had 6, it'd be 6. Or if you had more than that, I don't know how many characters you have. But you could have 2, you could have as many as you want. So we have 4, it's going to loop through all of these. And we now just need to set the character portraits. So we're going to get character portraits I, and then we're going to set it, the sprite. So how do I get the information of what sprite it should be? Well, we already have that information in our dialog base, in our characters. So we already set it up, and we just need to get access to our characters, basically. And then we'll be able to set the portraits. So how do we get access to the dialog base? Well, we see up here that we already have access to dialog base DB because we pass it through this method here. So we can just steal this parameter here. And so I'm basically just going to copy paste this part and put it into here. And so now we have access to our dialog base. And then we can just get the characters, and then we get the same index, and then we're going to get the portrait of that index. And then the last thing we need to do is we just need to call this method whenever we enqueue the dialog. So the very start, so we're going to copy this method, and we're going to put it, let's say right here. It doesn't matter too much, I don't think. We're going to pass in DB through this parameter, so it's going to take the dialog base and use it. And so at the very start, when we open up our dialog, it's going to set all the portraits. So the last thing we need to do is create a dialog, and I'll be doing that in my own time, and I'll show you guys what I got. Alright, so I have my dialog here, and I set up all my characters, and you have to make sure that when you set whatever character is talking, so here, this is basically what character is going to be talking, and you need to make sure that the character actually exists within these characters up here, because it doesn't make sense if you have all these characters and then you have a different character that is talking that doesn't exist in the scene itself. So make sure that the characters talking exists within the characters that are in the scene. Next thing is I'm quickly going to open up my dialog base here and just kind of notice that the text comes first before the character emotion. And so I'm just gonna hit Alt Enter or Alt up arrow and move this up here. Just so it's a little bit neater. Once that compiles, you see that the character and then the motion will be right under it. I think that looks a lot better. And the last thing we need to do is we're going to take our test object, and this is basically what's calling the dialogue, or what opens up the dialogue in this scene. And we're going to drag in our JRPG style dialogue. Alright, so let's test it out. And immediately you notice that there's, well, first of all, the characters are too close together. And there's also some scaling issues that we'll fix. I'll space the characters out after this, but you see the text pops up, "Hey guys, how's it going?" and his name is Sam. We have two of the same characters, and the first character changes because we're using the same dialogue system from before and we haven't changed it yet. But I'll do that later. In the next video, we'll have each character change the emotions and whatnot to the proper ones, but right now we'll be using we're using our old dialogue system. So in the future, this is going to look a lot better and work perfectly, but for now it's a little flawed, you could say. But each character has their own font, you can see, and each character has their name there. And so you can make this really personalized, each character having their own font and whatnot. And also, the male characters have a lower, well, sound effect, and then the female characters have a higher pitch sound effect. And so how do we fix this scaling issue we have here? And so it doesn't scale properly, and it's a pretty easy fix. We want to go to our canvas, and instead of constant pixel size, we want to scale with screen size. And so now the characters will scale properly. So make sure you do that first, actually, because it messes with the scaling. I'm gonna turn on my dialogue and do that again since it doesn't save in play mode. And I'm probably just gonna scale this down just a bit, like so, and move the characters so like you see they're overlapping. Move them away from each other just a bit. Because this character is smaller, I didn't notice before, but hopefully that fixes it. So open it up, and that looks better. So that'll be it for this episode. And the next episode we'll be making this so that each character has their emotion and whatnot set for each piece of dialogue, and then we'll have it so that the name of the character will jump to, will pretty much jump beneath whichever character is talking. And then I might add some more, but for now that'll be it. In the next episode I'll be covering all that, so I'll see you then. I'd like to thank my Patreons Alejandro, Kovian, Bay, Emerson, Kirijo, Polybius, and Yoan. If you want to become a Patreon, you can support me at patreon.com/devbird, where you can join my Discord, or you can just join the Discord in the link description below. And there you can suggest videos or ask me questions, and I'll see you guys next time.